So, the next thing then, I said that we're going to talk about that feeds into that, is this thing about inner rehearsal or visualization, okay? Now, this is something that's done especially in sports. Now, we've got a rugby player in the room at the minute, and so that's a good example, is playing rugby. If anybody's ever seen rugby, but any sports you might watch, people will do this in some way or other. So if we take, say, rugby, and what happens when somebody's going to kick a conversion, what does the kicker do? He puts the ball down and he takes his step back, or she does, and looks at the post, and then they look at the ball. And then they raise their eyes up from the ball. They're following in their mind the trajectory of the ball going through the post, and then they do it again. And they look, and they're visualizing themselves. They're rehearsing in their mind, stepping up. They know exactly where they're going to kick the ball, and they can visualize that ball going through the post. So that's an inner rehearsal. So what they're doing is they're programming their mind and their body, and because they do it again and again and again, the best goal kickers, they very rarely miss. Something that's really difficult to do. But okay, yes, they're doing the physical practice, but that mental rehearsal empowers them, because when they're doing that visual rehearsal, do you think they imagine themselves missing? No. And you'll see it with any sport, whether it be tennis or golf or motor racing or anything, sports-wise, this is used an awful lot by top sports people to get better at whatever they're doing. They see themselves going first over the finish line, or taking the corner perfectly, or hitting the ball perfectly, whatever it is, yes? Now, how does this work? Well, we covered previously, didn't we, that your brain can't tell the difference between real life and imagination. So when you're thinking about that polar bear attack or that bad thing happening, you're releasing these anxiety-based neurochemicals that are then making you feel anxious or angry or frustrated or stressed, yes? So you're triggering your own stress response, because your brain, if you're imagining something, your brain can't tell the difference between an actual real external event in the environment outside of you and what you're imagining in your internal world. Can't tell the difference, okay? But it works the same for positive things. That goal kicker's brain, when he's visualizing that, even though he's only kicked that ball once, he might have visualized it 10 times. And he visualized it going through 10 times. So that means, as far as his brain's concerned, he's succeeded 10 times already. So the 11th time is going to be a breeze. Hasn't missed the first 10, why would he miss now? Do you see? Mm. So you start to see yourself doing the things you want to do in the way you want to do them. So when it comes to Pablo, for example, when we've looked and we said, okay, here's a situation that's not the way that I want it to be. Is there something I can do? Yes, there is. And it might be an internal thing. Okay, I can do this better. So if you take both of your cases that you brought up about procrastination and habits, yes, what you can do is to look at something that's an issue. So let's say, for example, instead of putting the telly on when we get in and watching screens, reading a book, having a nice bath, doing something creative, or listening to the radio, or having a chat with somebody, or whatever it might be, whatever it is you want to do. So what do you want to do instead of that? Visualize yourself doing it. So you have this inner rehearsal. You work out what it is that I want instead of what I've got. Yes? So if it's to do with food, for example, if it's maybe making bad choices in the supermarket about what you're buying, because, people say, well, I'm eating bad stuff. Well, before you eat it, you've got to buy it. Yes? Yeah. So that means you've bought it in a supermarket, and if it's in the house, what are you going to do? You're going to eat it, yes? So if it comes to wanting to make, say, better food choices, you have this inner rehearsal. You visualize yourself walking into the fruit and veg area and getting these nice things. Maybe you've looked at a nice, menu or a nice recipe somewhere online. They give you some inspiration, and you've got a list of things that you want, because they might be a bit alien because they're nice bright colours instead of in a packet. So you go in there and you'll say, oh, no, I'm going to get these, and you visualize yourself walking out with this lovely basket full of vibrant colors and nice fresh things, and then you visualize yourself coming home and preparing that and eating that and really feeling so great about it. And so even if you're imagining that now, you might think, well, that feels quite good, I quite fancy something fresh now, yes? because the body's going to start to crave that because you're imagining that, and that feels really good. And so you visualize that once, 5 times, 10 times, as many times as you need to, and then you'll find yourself walking into the supermarket feeling really comfortable getting these things.
So do people buy bad stuff out of habit, or out of the fact that they've already visualised themselves eating a pack of donuts, for example?
Well, it's partly habit, but partly because when we're doing things unconsciously, okay, so this is something we haven't really spoken about much yet, but we can be conscious or unconscious, okay? So what does that mean? If I'm unconscious, it means I'm not particularly aware of what I'm doing. I'm busy kind of in my head doing something else. When you're eating bad stuff, in your own experience, are you conscious or unconscious?
Unconscious.
You're unconscious. When you're sitting there ramming a bag of crisps down your neck, or having lots of pizza or whatever, you're watching telly and you're talking to somebody and we're eating unconsciously. What we're doing is we're carving up a bit of food, we're shoving it in our mouths, we're chewing it. We haven't even swallowed it and we're carving another bit and shoving that bit in, aren't we? Mm. We're doing it unconsciously because I suppose a simple way to look at it is when we're in that monkey bit of brain and a paddle bit of brain, when we're sort of unconscious, we crave salty, fatty foods. Yes? And that's why most food producers, what do they make? Salty, fatty foods. Why? Because they want to sell stuff. And that's what people buy. And the difference between us as a species and any other species when it comes to food is every other species on the planet eats what their body wants, what's appropriate. What most humans do now, food is an entertainment, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't look at what my body needs, what my body's telling me it wants. We say, oh, I'm feeling a bit depressed. So I think, oh, I'll have a nice takeaway curry and watch a film on Netflix, yes, or whatever. So it's an entertainment. Yes, so we have to start looking at food, and we can just kind of segue into talking about food now. There's nothing wrong with that. Is that we start to realise that I need to listen to my body. If you listen to your body, if you become conscious, it'll tell you what it wants to eat, and it won't be lots of sugary, salty, fatty foods. Okay, your brain will tell you that because the monkey loves all that stuff. Yes. But it's all unconscious. It's unconscious eating. If you start to be more consciously aware about the choices, then you will start to notice that you make different choices. Yes? Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.